Welcome back, guys. First, I want to address the fact that my garage is a mess. I'm getting the driveway seal coated, so that is what it is. Stuff is displaced. But anyway, I want to talk today about CPO warranties and kind of buying a vehicle new versus buying used, and some of the advantages that you might actually get from buying CPO and some of the disadvantages that you might not have thought about. So what we're going to use today for this video is both my 2013 Camaro that I bought CPO a very long time ago. By the way, CPO is certified pre-owned. Pretty much every company has some type of plan where they certify their pre-owned vehicles. And we'll use my 2022 Ford F250 as well, which I just recently bought last year, certified pre-owned, and that is still under warranty. So let's talk about the Camaro first. This was bought in 2013 model year car. It had 26,000 miles on it. So it would have been pretty close to its the end of its warranty, factory warranty, right? 3-year, 36,000 miles. Actually, I guess it would have been over that because of the age, right? So it's kind of interesting when you think about this car had no warranty on it when that person traded it in. And then the day I bought it, it had a full bumper-to-bumper 12-month, 12,000 mile warranty. And then it had another few years because you get a 6-year, 100,000 mile warranty with the certified pre-owned for Chevy. So for another year or so, or a year and a half, it at least had some powertrain warranty left as well. Now, if the car had been a few years younger, it would have had a powertrain warranty up closer to the 100,000 mile mark because it would have been young enough that I could have put the miles on it to get it there. And so that is something to consider, right? The newer and slightly higher mile the vehicle is, the more the CPO warranty actually helps you. So my 2022 F250, for example, is currently sitting at 60,000 miles. And if you do the math on it with how much is left of the warranty, it doesn't expire until like 2029. It's quite a ways away. So I could easily get that full 100,000 miles worth out of the warranty for that vehicle. And that's where it really starts to become a big benefit because you now have a warranty beyond what the factory would have given you. So yes, you can buy an extended warranty when you buy a car new, but that's going to cost you extra money. And buying certified pre-owned theoretically costs you a little extra money because they are building the cost of that warranty into the cost of the car. However, most 1 to 3 year old cars with low mileage are on dealership lots anyway. So you're generally going to pay a pretty similar price, warranty or not. So getting that warranty is just an absolute no-brainer in my opinion. And just having a powertrain warranty to 100,000 miles versus only 60, which is factory for like the American cars anyway, is a hugely beneficial thing. And this car just turned 100,000 miles a couple months ago. And so if the age had worked out right, this thing would have just lost warranty, and it's an older car, right, with higher miles. So I just think that is a huge benefit, getting an extra 40,000 miles of powertrain, especially with how expensive transmissions are and even the more modern engines are. It's really good peace of mind. So the downside, though, to that is you don't know what somebody did to the vehicle, right? So for that first 20, 30, 40,000 miles that it was owned before you owned it, you have no idea. You have a little bit of an idea because of Carfax. For example, on this car, I know that it was in a passenger side accident because it said it on the Carfax, and I could actually see some crappy paintwork. So I knew when I bought this car it had a little bit of questionable history. However, I actually had the dealer put it on a lift for me. I looked underneath it and everything, and it was more surface level. There was nothing, no major frame damage or anything. And if there was, they did a great job fixing it. So honestly, I don't really care. But there's still unknowns, right? I have no idea the exact extent to that and that sort of thing. So that is a disadvantage. On the Ford, for example, it clearly had stickers on it like it was a company truck. And you can actually see little remnants of the stickers right after I bought it. They missed a couple spots. So I probably, if I looked close in the window, sometimes you can see just a tiny bit of fade and actually get the name of the company, which would be kind of interesting, but I've never done that. So you don't know. And that is the biggest disadvantage of certified pre-owned, is that first however many miles could have been super easy life, could have been a hard life. This car, for example, again, there's a technique where you can, or a thing where you can pull the fuse there's a fuse panel in the rear trunk that'll open the exhaust valve because this has the dual mode exhaust. And somebody before I bought it had already pulled the exhaust valve, which is by no means a big deal. I was going to do it anyway, so it kind of saved me a step. But again, clearly it was somebody who was probably driving the car a little bit harder because they cared to even have that valve pulled in the first place. Something to consider. we'll talk a little bit about it, but I think everyone knows this, the whole new car depreciation. Obviously, that is the number one killer of your financial stability is new car depreciation. If you're not careful and you just keep buying newer cars, you'll really spend yourself into oblivion unless you have a very high salary. So for anybody who's in the $50 to $150,000 salary range, buying a kind of normal car, i.e., something made by like an American company or a lower end German car kind of thing, Japanese car, you really kind of got to consider downgrading the trim and style of car if you're dead set on buying brand new, so you don't completely murder your financial situation. So that is something to consider. CPO helps you get around that. You eat up some of that new car depreciation. Obviously, the initial purchase price becomes a little bit less, and it can definitely be beneficial, from that perspective. You also can kind of trade into a new car a little bit more often. So people maybe just get bored of a certain car, and then instead of driving it from 0 to 40,000 miles, if you drive that car from 30 to 70,000 miles or 80,000 miles, you've had a cheaper cost of ownership and had the car for the same amount of time, and then you can justify trading into a newer, another used car, and doing that sort of thing. So a disadvantage of CPO though would be kind of just that, kind of that. So you aren't able to choose the exact trim. You're not able to custom order, obviously. You might have to compromise on exterior color. You might have to compromise on like a sunroof, which I didn't want in this case. On my truck, it doesn't have the fifth wheel hitch prep, which I just don't really need, but kind of would have liked to have had just because I probably would have clicked order if I was ordering one from, brand new. So that is a disadvantage. You may have to make some sacrifices and say to yourself, okay, these are the features I'm dead set on having to have. Like with this car, I wanted the 1LE package, which gives me the wider wheels and the painted brakes and the better sway bars and the short stroke shifter and the different rear end ratios. That was mechanical stuff I couldn't easily fix. For me, something I would have sacrificed on this car, honestly, would have been leather seats. I like that I have it. I could have done without it, right? So just as an example of things you got to ask yourself, what are the necessities? What are the things I, maybe you could do without or potentially add later? Which you on a new car, you don't necessarily have to do. A lot more options. You can custom order, like I said, etc. Lastly, a disadvantage of a new car that nobody really thinks about, but is a huge thing, is new car issues and recalls. Especially if it's a new model year after like a big refresh or a big redesign. You could wind up with, various engine issues, transmission issues, random suspension type stuff, whatever it is. You guys have all seen the recalls that are out there for a myriad of things on cars. And just having something that you buy used can really help prevent dealing with those issues because either A, somebody else dealt with it, B, the car was lemon lawed and it's gone now before you could have even ever bought it, or C, you wind up in a situation where, they come out with better fixes. The part availability is better. So even if you do run into one of those issues, you can actually fix it now, which is super helpful. Now, I say that word lemon law there. What's interesting is a lot of lemon lawed vehicles, depending on how bad they are, they actually fix up and resell. So you might be thinking, oh, wow, am I going to get a CPO car that's lemon lawed? Well, from what I understand, a lemon lawed car cannot be CPO'd. The history doesn't allow it to be legally. And then not only that, but just in general, because in order to get lemon law, that stuff was going to have to happen at a dealer. It will be on the Carfax, and you'll see 40 lines of service history. So in that case, you could catch a lemon law type issue from a dealership. And they're also selling those for an incredibly low price considering what the vehicle is typically. So there are red flags. CPO is not a perfect protection. You got to kind of do your diligence anyway. But it really does give you some peace of mind that the vehicle is of a different grade and class of other used cars around it. And I guess that would be my main takeaway. I don't know. I've had good luck with it so far. I like the concept of it. The big new car issue recall type stuff, to be a couple years in on the model year and they figure that stuff out. It's kind of nice. This is especially true with like campers. People buy a brand new camper and they have to get all these things kind of fiddled with it, and even if it is under warranty, you got to take it back and it takes 2 weeks to get fixed and all that kind of crap. Well, shoot, if you buy the camper 2 years later because somebody sold it, then you don't have to deal with that stuff potentially. And then the last thing, some people might ask themselves, like, well, why would somebody sell a car that's perfectly good after a year or two? Here's what you got to understand. There are people who are so wealthy that they just want to buy a new car every year. So there's always that crowd. or every couple of years or every 3 years. There's the crowd of people who bought something that's like in the truck world, right? Too big for what they need, or they buy a sports car and then they decide they don't like how bumpy it is. You got to understand there's a lot of people who are very indecisive or make rash kind of snap decisions or let a salesman talk them into something. So a lot of these certified pre-owned cars, if you did a survey, I bet you any money it falls into one of those categories, right? Very wealthy, doesn't care, bought it for the wrong reasons, let a salesman convince them, they should buy something that they shouldn't, and then there's the scenarios of like lost their job or, get a divorce kind of thing that forces somebody to sell a car. There's just a bazillion reasons. So when people like have this thing, they're like, oh, well, I just don't see why somebody would sell a car after 10,000 miles. There must be something wrong with it. There could be. I mean, that definitely could be a reason why, right? 100%. But I actually think that's a small percentage. I think it's all the other life things. It's not that just these cars have an epidemic of having things wrong with them after 7,000 miles kind of deal. So that's my thought anyway. If you have a different experience, let me know in the comments. If you've seen vehicles that have had major issues and people sold them off and then they get CPO'd and the new owner has issues, maybe you like work for a dealership or something, I'd love to hear about that. But anyway, that'll wrap this one up, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.